Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of TOT. How are you?
Good.
We're
How are
very well,
you?
thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And we have on the channel Forget Me Not Paranormal. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation to have a chat to me.
Oh, thank you.
for having
We
us.
look forward to it. Thank you.
I am thrilled to have you here. And at the moment, we have got all that fluff and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hello.
Hello, hello, Fluffy. How are you? Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm sure people will join us a little bit later on as well. So let's get started. I guess the first question I'd like to ask you is just tell us a little bit about yourselves, about the people behind the camera.
I'm Corey. This is my wife, Melissa. We've been doing this for about a year. Yeah, a little over a year. We got started because every place we lived right after we were married, we had some strange activity going on. Whether it was, we had little shadow figures all over the place. In one place, we actually had someone knock at the door. It wasn't our sons have seen voices. Our sons have seen things. And so one day, it was in the middle of the night, and we decided, if there's something that wants to talk, maybe we should find a way to let it talk. Because she was seeing even full-bodied apparitions at one point.
Wow.
And so when we did, that activity started to slow down, but all the communication stuff just went off the charts. So we expanded from there. It was just, kind of one thing led to another over the past year, and we really found a passion for it. In particular, communicating or allowing spirits to get out what they need to say or communicate with us or with loved ones. And we've had some verifiable things that we've caught that we've been able to reach out to some relatives. You have to be careful with that, but we've reached out to a few of their relatives and things.
Okay, that sounds good. So would you identify as are you mediums then?
I don't necessarily see them all the time, but we do have sensitivities.
So I say that I'm a sensitive empath, and he's a sensitive. They actually touch him a lot more. They don't do as much touching, but they'll talk to me more in my head. Like I'll have conversations.
Which has been really helpful with her to be able to communicate that way with them, which is really their preferred way to communicate is the nonverbal.
Yeah.
Sensations are kind of my thing.
Yeah, he gets all the.
You get all the hugs. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm just noticing your shirts. Is that your logo?
It is.
Yes, your Forget Me Not logo. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how often, do you find that random spirits? Okay, where's a movie? What's a movie I can think of? Random spirits would come up to you and say hello.
Yeah, that's really how it happened. Is we at one point had an older gentleman who kept coming around where we lived in an apartment, and he kept coming around our place, and eventually that led to the knocking on the door with no one there. So it really depended on what was in the area. And this recent place that we live in now actually has a vortex nearby, and so the experience is really kind of ratcheted up once we moved in here. And it wasn't until later that we found out that vortex existed. There's just
they line up
right. It's
and
like
as
a
soon
grand
as
central state.
it's open, or they'll come and do things to get our attention so that we will open up the ghost tube and do a session.
Yeah, we try not to actually when we do the investigations to specify who we want to talk to or anything. We just let that be organic, and whoever wants to come through comes through. And we've never been disappointed. It's always several of them that want.
They're everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. They're everywhere.
Absolutely, they seem to be spirits from everywhere tend to come and want to have their say and get in on the action. Yes. That leads me to another question. Do you go out ghost hunting? Do you find particular places? Do you have a bucket list?
Oh yeah, we definitely do. We've done a lot in our particular area in California. It's this area has a lot of it, but a lot of people, the local culture, they don't like to talk about it. So we've kind of attempted to, showcase some areas where activity does exist. Like we did a recent one at a house up here on Van Ness Avenue that started our Christmas tree lane. It's where all the homes decorated for Christmas. In this one house, a young boy had passed away back in 1915, and their son did, and that's what started the Christmas tree lane, is the passing of this young boy, and they memorialized him by decorating a tree, and then the entire street started doing it. And when we went out there, we got everything but the little boy. We got everyone who was there. But it's something that the area really doesn't speak of too often. No one wants to address it. So we were looking to go to a place in Nevada.
We're gonna go to Topano.
Yeah, Topano is another.
Oh,
yeah.
I've heard of Topano. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was on our bucket list to go, and we're like, well, it's just over the border. I don't know why we don't head out there. And we'd like to do some more in Southern California and other places. There aren't too many in our area of California paranormal investigative teams. So we're trying to branch out more into the area that we are in the central northern part of it. Show people that there are things that are here. And get our name out there for anyone who really needs help.
That's our goal, is that we would like to do a home investigation besides our own. So it would be interesting to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So earlier you talked about the vortex. Would you like to tell our listeners what you know about vortexes and how they work?
In a vortex,
if you're comfortable doing that.
Oh, absolutely. A vortex, unlike a portal, which, from what we understand, is more open. It can be more open by human activity, but other things can open portals. A vortex is something that really pre-exists in an area because of its unique kind of natural makeup or its energetic makeup. One of the things that we think may be eating that area is there was a nearby Japanese internment camp in World War II with a lot of tragic stories that have fed into making the thing as open as it is or as large as it is. And just about anything can come through there, positive, negative, and indifferent. You can't really close it. There's not much you can do with it, except learn to live with it and protect your own space that's around it. It's probably less than 70 meters, 100 yards or so from where we are.
Right.
Just right there. And like I said, there's so much that comes through on it that there's never an end of those who want to talk.
From all kids, from all it's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, and they'll tell us where they're from, and then you get the negative things.
Yeah.
They really feed off. Yeah.
But the people, the individuals, they oftentimes get sucked into it. And so we will get, where am I? When is this? Is a question we often get on our ghost tubes. And we've even had them come from as far away as England. And
we had New York. We were able to verify. Like they gave us a first and a last name. We looked them up, and we were like, "This is you." Like, yeah.
So that's kind of
amazing.
Yeah, paranormal investigators, kind of the advantage, I think, of vortex. Along, there are disadvantages to it, but that's one of the advantages, is that you get people from all.
Yes. Have you had any negative experiences with negative energies? Would you like to tell us about one example, if you feel comfortable doing that?
Absolutely. Actually, we had one that we've been working with some psychics that we know, trying to get rid of it. It was a more there's negative entities that are around here a lot, shadow people, things of that nature. This particular entity we called Top Hat Man, because that's how he presented. He also had told us his name was Robert at one point. It took a while for us to figure out that all these different personas were the same entity, and the other spirits were telling us that's what it was. We worked with 3 different psychics who have dealt with him, and I think they identified that it was a jinn, that a neighbor who was dabbling a little bit into occult practices had perhaps purchased or invited into the area with the idea of maybe working with it, and it decided it was going to take charge of all the other negative entities in the area and was scaring our son. He was coming through as a spike monster to him. He imitated me.
He imitated him in the bedroom.
Really?
Yeah, he did scratch. He tried to scratch me. He did burn you. Yeah, and he's been like causing a lot of anxiety and just and our kids were even being affected by it, and it was it was pretty bad. And we think he's finally gone. On Mother's Day, the last medium that's been working with him, she said she thinks she finally dissipated the energy. He told her she was going to pay for it, but I've noticed a change in the house. So
considerably, yeah. And
wow, that must be scary.
It was.
It was. Fortunately, you always, in dealing with these things, and I know other investigators probably would have this experience, that if you're confident in yourself and you understand a little bit what you're dealing with, you have to have a healthy respect for it, and you make sure that it only doesn't have access to the things within you that it wants to feed on. So if you protect yourself, it's manageable. But a lot of people get this idea that, well, if I can protect myself, then really what is it? Well, don't underestimate what it can do. So you have to kind of humble yourself a little bit. But the psychics have been successful with it so far. So
it was 4 years though.
4 years dealing with it. And
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the other activity has died. The negative activity has died down because what the psychics found out is that he had taken charge of a lot of the other negative entities I mentioned before, and so now they feel leaderless, and they're just kind of wandering around, I guess, doing what they're doing. But it has improved the feeling of the area quite a bit.
I bet. So what do you do to protect yourself? What are your methods?
Our thing, you always want to have a solid base of your own belief, whether that's Christian or that's any other faith that you have. Ours is we're Catholic Christians, and we usually do our blessings based in that tradition, along with sage and crystal work and things of that nature. So, and all, as well as personal cleansings and prayer and things of that nature. We do use frankincense, myrrh. Holy water. We use blessed salts. Of course, we use the sage, and we use this ritual. It's not just willy-nilly. You take the day, you prepare yourself for it, and so forth. We do put a boundary around our home and things, and those things work. They seem to work.
But we had to do it on a weekly basis, whereas I know some people it's only once in a while or monthly, and it gets a little wearing. When you're getting attacked, you have to spend an hour going through every cupboard, every little thing.
I know. Must be painful. Must be annoying. Yes. That's great. So you've decided to start up a YouTube channel. Yes, obviously, because that's why we I'm very good at stating the obvious, So can you tell me why you decided to start the YouTube channel up?
Yeah, I think for me it was about getting some to show people what the reality of these kinds of hauntings and dealing with spirits is really like. There's a lot of Hollywood-based ideology around this and mythology and things like that, and some of those things are true. It's just not what's common. And I think that for me, growing up, I had a lot of paranormal experiences happen to me as a child growing up in the area, and there really was no one to turn to. There was no, the adults certainly didn't want to talk about it. The only information I had was, movies like The Exorcist, which didn't exactly portray what I was experiencing. So for me, the YouTube channel was a way of reaching people to show them that this is the reality, and that if you're having an issue, there's hope for you. I mean, you can contact us. or there's some, if this provides you some level of explanation as to what you might be experiencing. So for me, it was more of a public service.
For me, it was, I grew up in a very conservative evangelical home, so
Not me.
so everything was a demon, but I was always fascinated by ghost stories and stuff. So when I got with him and I started to realize, after and watching lots of Amy Allen, the Dead Files was very instrumental. I was like, wait a minute, these are people. And so for me, it was to allow them to talk and find out what their stories are and what they need. And so I know we're not as much as evidence-based, like we don't necessarily try to prove that something's haunted. No, but we just want them to talk. So if they have a story, we'll help them. We'll find out stuff, whatever they want. And we have followers that come with us from cemeteries and different things, and they'll assist us sometimes, or they'll just want to say hi.
That's fantastic. So that's quite a bit of a different take on the usual paranormal channels. Most of us will go into a place and we'll have the REM pods out. We'll have the photos and the videos, and we'll capture evidence. You're more into the communication, talking with spirits, learning their stories and finding information, I guess. Yeah.
I want to be their friend. I guess I'm not a lot of living friends, so
I'd rather be friends with a ghost than a live person.
It's almost like a session. I mean, it's a nice conversation, and not only that, but it's cathartic for us. It when you realize that the plane just beyond ours is just as complicated, just as varied as human beings are when they are alive. You begin to realize that your own mortality is not that scary, and it's actually a beautiful thing that and unfortunately most of the individuals who are deciding to remain are doing so because they feel that there's something unresolved in their lives, or that they just feel that they got a chance to live, or they want to experience more. Their reasonings are as varied as any other human decision. But it's for me, it's comforting to know that that we are still people after we are still who we are, and giving them that opportunity to say, this is who I was. This is what I want the world to know about me. Feels, I mean, it feels like good work, I guess is the best way to put it. It's almost like a calling, I think.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Did they ever shut up? Can you ever say, like, go away and leave me alone?
No. Only if you turn off the machine. Yeah. So since we're not mediums, we don't see them all the time. You like you can feel it.
Okay, yeah.
But so no, and we're like, okay, we got to turn the machine off, and we'll talk to you another time.
Yeah, we do an opening and a closing with it to make it very clear when the communication starts and when it stops. But if we've gone too long, they'll let us know. We have a Google device in the house, and oftentimes we will have things, ask it questions, and of course you don't hear it, but you hear the response right out of the blue. Music will play that nobody asked it to do.
One time I said the F word, and then I asked her later, I was like, "Hey, did you say the F word?" And then of course Google's like, I would never say the F word. And I was like, "Oh, so talk."
Yeah, so they have
you're right. That's happened to Werner, actually. He
really.
My partner just rocked in the chat. He was doing just a random, I think it was a necrophonic session or ghost tube or something, and I think he got fuck off or something. The first thing. Yeah. That was quite hilarious. We didn't record it, which is more the pity, but it would have made a good short.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good meme.
Yes. If anyone has any questions for Forget Me Not Paranormal, please put them in the chat. We actually have, I just want to say hello to a few people. We've got Werner's Adventures here. We've got Kerno Explores. Is it Kerno? Yeah, Kerno Explore Blogs. We have Woman Outdoors.
Hello.
all that fluff and stuff has been amazing. Just saying hello to people, welcoming people in. That's just fantastic. The Stock Explorer is here. Thank you for coming. And Dee's here. And I think there are a few other people who aren't talking in the chat, maybe just listening in the background.
Thank you for.
I saw the Bud Files are here.
Oh, hey, Bud Files. Hello. Hey, Sue and
Sorry it's taken me so long to acknowledge everyone, but it's interesting conversation. It's hard to interrupt and go on a tangent. And so, how long have you been on YouTube now?
Our first video dropped September 30th of 2021. So we're not a year yet.
Oh, you're not a year yet. Oh, that's great. How's it going for you? Was it what you thought it would be?
I mean, for me, yes.
I figured we're a slow burn.
Right. Yeah. It's, our whole mission wasn't really to do something that was entertaining necessarily. So I think that most viewers might find some of our videos tedious. But if you are those who are truly interested in paranormal, those are really the people we would like to attract. And anyone who might have an interest in it. So I always knew it wasn't going to be huge, but I'm pleasantly surprised how many people are interested in the videos that we've done.
And give us some really good feedback.
Yeah,
there's some really amazing people.
Yeah. The other purpose was, if there was anything that we didn't catch on a video or on an investigation, I mean, the more eyes you have, the better. As far it's kind of the reason that we do some of that. So we welcome anybody's comments or anything they see. We check all of it out.
Absolutely, yes. I often find the cuckoo clock. I often find that there are people who love the jump scare channels, there's a ghost, let's run it. Well, there was a noise, let's run away, I mean, if I called out for a ghost to, give me a sign you hear, I wouldn't be running away. I'd be, let's go over there, and then there are people who want the genuine experience, and the genuine experience can be quite boring and tedious. I just recently put up a video showing how I pick out EVPs, and it's just a matter of sitting there listening and going over the EVPs time and time again. And that was like just a whole day of listening, literally a whole afternoon of listening to 24 minutes of footage, which
3 hours,
right?
So I can imagine, but I mean, I don't have to do that. I can just let the video run and let people figure it out for themselves. I mean, why do I do that to myself? But then again, it's nice to do.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually watching the premiere and I heard I was showing an EVP. I had question mark and I'm like, that said Heather. It was only watching it back I realized what it said.
That's it's the way it works sometimes, is that so there's background noise that you have to go through. There's all sorts of different things. And so like Melissa, she does all of that listening. So a 30-minute video can take upwards of 2 hours or more if you're really just listening to it the whole time. And you have to slow it down, and you also have to discount any your brain's tendencies to hear things out of things that maybe aren't there. And so she always has me verify things, and we'll exchange back and forth what we thought we heard and things. And it's always when we come to an agreement that we'll put it on there. Because you never know. You want to be as honest as possible.
Oh, absolutely. That's the main thing, is to be transparent. And I think sometimes one of the things is that if you say this is an EVP, but you're not sure, where do you draw the line? How do you draw that line? How do you make that? And I find it really hard to make that decision sometimes. I really do. So I just leave it there and let everyone else gets me off the hook.
It's definitely an art more than a science, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And we have Betty J. Gathers here. Thank you for coming, Betty J. Gathers. Nice to see you. I have the Forget Me Not links, but dropped every 7 minutes. So check them out after the live stream, of course, and they're on the front page. And I'll probably put their links in the description below as well. Now, you have a very interesting hobby, and if you have a question for Forget Me Not, please, like caps lock, feel free to ask, and we'll get to your question as soon as we can. Now, you have a very interesting hobby. Is it a hobby or a passion, or how would you describe it?
I mean, I think it's a passion.
Yeah, they're my adopted spirit family. So.
Yes, that would definitely be a more accurate term. Yes.
So
yeah,
I'm trying to think how many now. We have 13 vessels, spirited vessels.
Yes, 13. Yeah. Yes.
And
wow.
we have had one who went home. She
Yeah.
left and moved on. So that was a real emotional time, and I really liked her, but I was glad she was ready to go. And I'm sitting there sobbing as she's like telling me. I'm like, okay. So I still have her vessel, and I told her I'd hold on to it for her. And then we have one who was her sister and would come and visit to try to get her to go. And so that one will still come in and say hi and check on us. And we'll say, tell your sister we love her and we miss her, And then we have several gentlemen, and we have a baby now. That was a very interesting one. Started out as a little girl, and then she told us she wanted a new vessel. So I wasn't really sure how to do that. So after 2 weeks of working with the other spirited vessels and talking to them to try to get her to talk, we finally decided we had a medium too who said she wanted to be a boy. So then I was like, okay. So I was trying to figure out how to make that happen. And then at the last minute, my other spirit, Raul, he told me that she wanted to be a baby boy. So I used lots of pictures and cat balls and different things as we're trying to figure this out. So at the end, I said, okay, fine. How about this? And he made the temperature thing go ding, 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 ding. So I said, all right, that's the one we're getting. And today's Saturday? So this was Wednesday?
Wednesday.
The vessel came, and we actually, I don't know how to explain it, saw her moving her energy into it. It was wild. Like the K2 was lighting up all over the place, and the cat balls were going off around the new vessel, and the old one, wasn't doing anything, and it was wild. And now, the baby's with us, we hold the baby, take it places.
He wanted a new name.
Yeah, and he wanted a new name, and so we picked a name, and his name is Jamie. So yeah, we have all kinds of things going on.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It must get busy in your house.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. She talks to them every single day.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He's always down by the cabinet speaking.
Blocking the door. I keep him in a cabinet because I have a 12-year-old son who thinks he's 15. And so as he's going through this gangly phase,
yes. We've all been there, done that. Yeah. Werner's still going through it. He's still gangly.
One of my, I would say a little bit more moodier spirit vessels was knocked to the ground, and her face was smashed. And there was a collective, moment. Oh. And then everybody got real quiet, and we didn't hear them talk.
Fecal material.
For a while. And this guy is amazing and actually glued her whole face back together. There's one little, you can cover the hair and not see. I mean, he did an amazing job for never working on dolls. And she left us for 3 weeks. She would communicate every once in a while, but she left the vessel, and she said she was angry and she was very mad. And she can do some things, I think. So we just said, if you want to come back, you can. If not, we can get you another vessel, whatever you want. And one day, my son, the one that broke her, he sat down in front of her and offered her a heart rock that we had found at the ocean. And we had an idea that she might be coming back. And she lit that cat ball off, and he said, I'm so sorry for what I did. I didn't do it on purpose. And she was just lighting it. And so, she's back. They're okay. And now they're in a cabinet.
Oh, fantastic. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, now you talk about vessels. Now, I'm guilty of this. Okay, so I'm going to be the first to admit it, that sometimes I'll refer to haunted dolls. And you've heard it, and everyone else has heard it, and you know, and but dolls aren't actually haunted, are they?
No, they're not. Any vessel or any object can have an attachment, which is a more accurate, I think, statement or description of what really occurs. And with the vessels, the human-shaped vessels, they could have some affinity for it. It could have something to do with, like they owned it at one time, or just something that they liked. I know one we have is a former fireman, and he is in a clown vessel.
Yeah.
And he chose the clown vessel because he was a little bit of a jokester when he was alive. So, I mean, they're human beings, and so they have a myriad of reasons as to why they decide to stay around and to be attached to a vessel. But they aren't haunting it. They don't necessarily dwell inside of it. It's just an attachment that they have. They can come and go as they please, and oftentimes do. Just as we were talking, there's one that she leaves and comes back quite often. But they aren't really haunting. It's not like Chucky or Child's Play. It's more of an attachment to the vessel itself. And there's any myriad of reasons as to that emotional or psychological attachment that they have. It, again, really depends on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few attachment vessels at home, and I don't know. Sometimes I think they treat this place like a motel or a holiday. Just go as they please. Sometimes I feel it. They're all here, and sometimes it's like the empty nest syndrome. Where have you all gone? Come on.
Yeah,
I'm lonely.
We do.
Do you find that happens to you, or?
Yes, quite a bit. I know that there's some that are kind of permanent residents and they like it here, so they hang out, and others that come and go. Some of them have preferences for certain libations.
Raul gets a Friday Modelo.
He likes
Every
Modelo.
Friday he has his beer.
Yeah, I go to the grocery store to I don't like because it's for the doll.
It's for him.
For him. Yeah, and he does. He loves Depeche Mode, and he likes to sit and drink his Modelo and listen to Depeche Mode. There's other.
Well, that's very 80s. Yes, he and Will get along well.
Yeah, he likes to party a little bit, and so and they don't have to stay around, and there's nothing that tells them that they have to. It's completely their free will.
I've had one come to work with me, or at least communicate with me while at work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very negative one that actually we didn't know was negative and caused a lot of problems and was working with the negative top hat man. So we ended up having to rehome her because she was making us sick, like drained. He wouldn't get out of bed for a while. The kids were all having issues and like, what is going on? So you have to be careful.
I've actually seen that video that of the doll, of the attachment that had to leave eventually. I think you did a video on that. Yeah, I saw that. That was very interesting. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No. She, the original owner, actually had a very positive experience with her, which is why there was nothing really that indicated that. But she was very upset with the Christian-based blessings we were doing. We had no idea. And it wasn't until we ran Ghost Tube during one of them that we realized she was saying Bible hurt and was saying my name. It was the only time we've ever had my name come through. And then she admitted she was working with Top Hat Man and that she wanted out. Mm-hmm. So we found another individual who didn't do that same practice, and she seems to be there. But she did lash out at us.
Oh, she left something behind. The other dolls were scared and telling us after.
Bad. Called her witch and demon
and stuff like that.
Wow, that's amazing. You've got some wonderful, wonderful stories to tell. I'm just so fascinated. Yes. So what? So did you say you had 8 or 13? 13 vessels?
13, yeah.
Well, it is 13. I don't know where I got 8 from. So are you going to stop at 13 or do you want more?
Well, we have 2 more coming in the summer, but I have to save up for them. One is a nun, and the other one is it's a residual of a monk. So all of his knowledge of, that fits in this vessel. And so together they're very good at like helping protect against the things that we are dealing with. So the person that I have most of his great aunt's vessels that I have. So they all know each other.
Of the one owner.
Yeah, of the one owner. And so he's saving them for me. So I said I'll get them and bring them in. We did purchase 2 from a different owner. I hate to say owner, a caretaker, and one is a fairy, and she is totally a fairy. Like, will light up crazy for glittery things, and she likes to collect little coins and money, and so if you give her those things, she is just totally like happy.
Very happy. Yeah.
She's very happy. So.
Wow. Is there any like ambition to open up a museum like the Warren Museum or a museum?
We've definitely thought about it. The thing is that we're using or collecting, I shouldn't say caretaking more of the positive spirits at the moment, but it is leading up to possibly finding a way to house more negative things.
Tried. And it didn't end very well.
You need to really have a space that you can warehouse them and that you can conduct the correct rituals to seal that, kind of as though you were a jailer. And we're working up toward that. When we get the space to do that, we're going to do more of that. But perhaps at some point to have, if we feel comfortable with them and think that they're not going to be harmful to other people, if we could open up something that people could come and see them or interact with them in some way, so long as it's not detrimental to others.
I mean, the neighborhood kids love to come over and see them.
Really?
Oh yeah, they do.
They haven't labelled you the local witch or anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a little group of girls. They absolutely love them. They go in.
They bring them things.
They bring them flowers and all kinds.
And my son, the littlest one, my 5-year-old, we've had some people talk with him, some different mediums, and they think that he has a lot of potential to be a medium. He does see them more, and so he's been kind of more interested in helping us. And we have to be careful though, because a lot of negative things go after him. So working with the positive ones, he's like how to talk in his head to them, and Raul's been helping him with that. He's been carrying the baby today, so he was baby Jamie, and him and baby Jamie were just watching TV for a couple hours, and he pretends, but that's what the baby wants. The baby wants to be loved, and so it's interesting to see him grow and not be scared. He lived in a lot of fear with what he was seeing and things. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's amazing. And to get a start with some positive energy will allow him to develop his skills and be able to work then with negative energy as needed, because you can't keep them away, unfortunately, all the time. No. They're there. Yeah. And that's fantastic. Oh, sounds amazing. I'd love to go and visit you guys one day.
You're welcome anytime.
We are planning a trip. We've been saying this for the past 2 years, but unfortunately, certain event has happened which has stopped us.
Yeah.
And we're still planning on it. We've still got our tickets available. We bought them a month before everything happened.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Yes. We were so disappointed, but never mind. So 42. Does anybody have any questions for Forget Me Not Paranormal? We've got about 15 minutes left, or closer to 20. About 17 minutes left, to be precise. If anyone's got any questions, please post them in the chat now. But I think everyone's talking to each other.
Mm.
They're not listening to us. They're just having their own conversation. That's fine. That's what it's all about.
Networking.
Yes. So, who else have you got? What other spirits have you got that you like, that you specifically like? Do you have a favorite?
No, I have ones that talk more than others, but I try to be as open as possible because I want them to know that I do love them. I mean, the baby is getting his own, I'm sorry, I'm still working on the gender thing, his own blanket and his own little onesies because he told us he wanted to be changed. Raul is like my best friend. I mean,
I like Raul.
He and I, we talk a lot. And his friend Andy is a redhead that looks like my son, so it was kind of cute. And so he was the one that picked two of them. I let the other spirit vessels pick who they wanted. So he picked Clown, Andy the redhead. Yeah. And then let's see who else. We have a clairvoyant. She was 14 when she passed, and she is very interesting. She sometimes will let us know things. She doesn't talk all the time, but when she does, it's important. And then we have a little redheaded girl that looks like my son's older sister. There's a pattern. And she also doesn't talk a whole lot. She died in the 30s, but she's very good at alerting us to negative things, and she'll let us know something bad is in the house. Like I said, we have the fairy, and so I'm still trying to understand how to work with fairies, and so it's all new to me in that. But it's been interesting learning about like the different kinds of fairies and what they like. Who else do we have? Tabitha. She was the very first one, and she had a right to be moody because we stuck her in a storage unit that we were trying to use to put negative entities in because we thought she was negative. And then the other negative thing was harassing her, and she was like, get me out. Like she was channeling and coming into her home.
Wow.
So she had that, and then she had her face smashed by my son. So she had a gross door, but she still said she likes us and loves us. So we have her. And we have a little one named Catherine, who is 16, and she likes to listen to Crimson and Clover and Earth Angel. Oh, yeah, she loves so we play music for them. Who else do we have? Said Mark. We have Max. He's a little boy that looks like my oldest son, and he's very shy, but I read to him. He wants me to read to him, so I read him stories. And then who else? We have the baby, and then we have the two sisters. And have I forgotten anyone?
I don't think so. I think that's all of them.
Is that all of them? Okay.
That's all of them at the moment. But she spends a lot of time with them and cares for them as though they are people. And I think they appreciate that. I mean, we've never had anything negative come from them at all.
No, they're very good
Fala,
spirits.
We've had nothing but everyone comes into the house and they learn that we have all these I almost said it, spirited vessels. And they're like, do you guys sleep okay? And I'm like, no, they don't bother us in any way. Yeah. They really don't. We don't have any.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. There is a question from Glorious Platter who asks, can I ask about your T-shirt logo? I have not seen you before, so she's just curious about it. Is there a meaning behind the logo, or?
Well, originally it was supposed to be a finger with the tie on it for "Forget Me Not," the old poem that said that. But this was designed by
Brian from Global United Paranormal.
Yeah, he designed it.
He said, I can't find anything about that, but I can give you a hint. And I said, all right, let's go with it. So after that, it just been something.
And it just kind of stayed there. It does say on the hand, it says "Forget Me Not Paranormal Team," and our names right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of been associated with us ever since. So we kept it around.
Thank you. Yeah. You did a good job.
He did. He did a very good job.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yes, that's great. That's great. Now we've got 10 minutes to go, and I have a little announcement to make. Forget Me Not Paranormal are coming back on the show next week, aren't you, dears?
We are. Indeed, we are.
And we have an extra special surprise for you. Would you like to tell them what the surprise is, or shall I?
No, you should.
Yeah.
One of their spirits attached to one of their spirit vessels, his name is Raoul, has given them permission to be interviewed on live stream. So I and Forget Me Not are going to be talking to Raoul next week and his partner
Andy.
Andy. Yeah. Okay, so this is quite exciting, and this is a little special thing we're going to do. Even though it's a little bit early, it's Pride Month coming up in June. Is that right? In America, Raoul has identified as being gay.
Yes.
And in Australia, or in Adelaide specifically, we have mourned the death of Dr. Peter George Duncan, my apologies, George Duncan, who was murdered at the hands of, it's been suggested that he was murdered at the hands of ununiformed South Australian police. For 2 years, the Adelaide University law team, there was a huge outrage. It was a huge outrage, and the Australian University law department fought hard for 2 years to decriminalise homosexuality in South Australia. That happened in 1975.
Oh.
No. Yeah, 50 years ago. Yeah, what are we in now? 2022. What's it 50 years ago? Help me, people. I'm not good at maths, not at this time of morning. But whatever it was, 2 years after the death of George Duncan, we decriminalised homosexuality. So that's a little thing that I'm doing, for Gay Pride Month in America, and to, do my little bit for George Duncan. So we're going to have a chat to him, and that's going to be next week. And I'm really excited for that, and I hope you are too.
This is cool. This is really cool.
Okay, we have a question. Are you planning to come to Australia? Dee wants to know. Dee is from Australia.
We would love to.
I actually have a relative in Australia that I haven't talked to in a long time, but yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, 50 years ago was 72, so it was decriminalised in 74. There we go. I did get my dates right. Sorry, you said you wanted to come to Australia? Got relatives in Australia? Yeah.
Yeah, they've been twice. Yeah, to Australia, but they've never taken me, unfortunately. So I'm hoping at some point we need to go down to Australia. It'd be lovely to go to Ireland and a couple other places. But yeah, Australia is definitely on the bucket list.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. You can come and visit us in Adelaide. They can visit Fluffy in Queensland. I think Dean's in New South Wales. Is it New South Wales or Victoria? Or could even be Western Australia. I don't know. I can't keep up with anyone anymore. It's all too hard. Oh dear. So if there are any other questions, so that's something to look forward to, and get that thing drawn up today, and I'll get some photos from you if that's at all possible. What you'd like me to put on the thumbnail.
Okay.
When you get a chance, and as soon as possible, just email it to me. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? This didn't quite go on for the hour, but that's okay. In Bendigo, Central Victoria, that's right. Now I remember. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining me for this chat with Forget Me Not. I'd like to thank Forget Me Not Paranormal for joining me on my live stream. If you want to connect with Forget Me Not, they are on the front page of my YouTube channel. Their links have been dropped constantly throughout the stream. And of course, I'll put the links in the description below. Go check them out. An amazing team, investigators. And I think you'll find their work with their vessels and the vessels' spirits are quite fascinating for those who are into that sort of thing. No worries. Okay, well, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you very much, and I shall see you all next week.
Yeah,
and you shall, Raul.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you everyone for stopping
we
by.
Appreciate it.
It's very nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.